anything?
Let me grab this.
Feedback.
Yeah, I should probably see if there's anything.
Grab
that I should
this.
submit.
This link. Here we go.
I just haven't been working on nothing.
I feel that. I have also
You haven't been working on nothing.
making no music. Just kidding. Oh, I actually.
I've been only doing like sound design and testing out different plugins and reverbs and shit, finding my favorites.
Also, what's good, everybody? Happy Friday.
Oh, what's up?
All right, let me back this up. We got a little bit of a shorter fief tonight, which is nice. You know. You guys can hear all that, I assume. On Discord.
Check.
The old stream.
Let me click watch stream. There we go. Yes. Sorry, I was working on pulling up the YouTube comments so I can talk shit with the rest of the boys.
Exactly. I'm just giving it a few moments here so people can hop in. I posted the. I did not post the link yet. So there's that, and there is that. All right, now everyone knows that we're live. We're live. We're doing
Oh, we got Lord of the Rings themed titles now.
Yep, we've started.
That's appropriate. I just started rereading the books.
All right, we're here. I guess let's just jump right into this. So you guys can hear the stream. Team long hair don't care. Let's go. Is that because you have short hair, Dino? Is that what you're saying?
I think all of us are long. I think we got a gang of long hairs tonight.
Yeah, is mine the longest hair? Who has the longest hair?
Might be now. Mine was down to my ass like 6 weeks ago, but I cut that shit.
Yeah, that's smart. I might do that very soon. Been thinking about it. Been thinking about also like really coiffing my beard. I mean, trust me, I'm going for the Gandalf vibe, but I think coif. Yeah, to coif. Is that a? Let's see.
Is that like combing?
Yeah, I think so. Let's look it up.
The quaff.
Oh, that's not. That's not the way that I thought it was.
EWA.
That is not the. It is.
It's a marble game.
Yeah, maybe I spelled it wrong. No. Okay, so I just didn't know the def. It's to gulp. I'm gonna gulp my beard. Oh, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be gone. All right. Anyway, to start off this evening, there we go. We've got Overdue, but it's a remix. All right. Let me know if the volume is good for everyone. And this is like, I know you guys can hear it, but this is for the stream. Let me know if things are too loud or too quiet.
Feel like this is long overdue.
All right. Well, I guess if it's okay with you, gang members, I think I will kick this one off. Because I have some opinions with this first statement here. So you want to keep the vocals because I remember you sent this track. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or last week. I feel like the reverb isn't the vibe. And yeah, I still don't think the track needs the vocals, but if you're really hell bent on keeping them, I would I don't know. I would just recommend trying to make them sit in the mix at the front, but the songs still sound good. If that makes sense. So like do some unmasking or some dynamic EQing or some sidechain compression, like multiband compression. Because I feel like right now the vocals feel like weirdly placed in the mix, and I don't think the reverb is necessarily helping. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just saying those are my honest thoughts there. But yeah, no, I think that the vocals could work. It's just they gotta really be well placed in the mix, and yeah, I think they need to be more forward with less reverb. But you also want to make sure that the basses are kind of easily felt as well. It's one of those things where like you might want to just try and cut some of the main frequency ranges that the vocals are going to be sitting in the basses and just see if that works with the vocals being more forward. But yeah, number one, meaningful effect risers. I feel like I have the essential ones, but like to hear your opinion on effects. Should they all have purpose? Do you categorize effects differently? So you do have the essential effects as far as risers go. I feel like, I mean, maybe I'll let the rest of the gang talk on this, but my opinion is risers are pretty straightforward, but effects are a little bit more tricky because a lot of the times I'll see people kind of set and forget effects and like kind of leave them on at like a certain mix value or a certain amount. But I think that you should try to be dynamic with them. And that's like the meaningful or maybe intentional is probably the better word vibe that I usually am conscious of when I'm working on effects. So with delay sends or reverb throws or things like that. But yeah, what do you guys think of the first question?
I think that song honestly had like you've got all the effects risers kind of stuff figured out. I really the only thing that it seemed to fit was the vocals, but if you want them in there, I understand that. I do think though the drop at around a minute 55 seconds, you could probably stand to like process your vocals a little bit differently on the drop, like right there, just because they seemed a little the whole song seems very like not of this world, and then the vocals just sounded very in the room with us. So maybe just doing something to them to make them fit the space a little better. But I think that you, as far as the first question goes, I think that you figured out effects and whatever, like effects risers. That it's a pretty full sounding song. I don't think you need to stress too much about that.
Okay, so I had to open up in a different window because I realized we are streaming from SoundCloud, or we're playing a compressed track from SoundCloud, running it through Discord, and then playing it over YouTube, so it's getting compressed 3 times. It sounded fucked up to me until I opened it up in its own window. Sounds pretty good. What do you want, though? Do you want the vocals to be front and center and heard, or the basses? Because you got to kind of choose one. Because they're on top of each other. As for the effects and risers, simple white noise works, and I noticed you had some that it would be like quick, like a quarter note or half, or not quarter note, like a quarter bar or half bar. But if you did like 4-bar risers or even 8 bars, and you gave the listener like a
Discord cut
to let
out
them
like
know
the
like
second half of that.
it's gonna end, like, and like because it's kind of like sudden, like, oh, and it's done. Also, instead of like effects and risers, you could use more like drum fills to like dice to indicate like when something changes or to like break up the monotony. Because the drums just kind of stay the same. So drum fills could be cool instead of effects. Because if you use effects, um, just arbitrarily, it kind of just muddies up your mix. And like Brad was saying, just be very intentional with it and like use effects on important and special parts or like things that lead up to special parts, but don't overdo it because then it distracts from the main like course. It's like spice on your food. You can't be all spice. You got to have like just meat and potatoes. If it's all spice, it's gonna be too much.
Yeah.
Harsh frequencies. I didn't really hear any. Mix actually sounded balanced. If anything, it might be too like tamed in the higher frequencies, the mids and mid highs. You may have subdued them too much and then too many low mids. I used to do that a lot. Because if you've been producing on something for a while, you get ear fatigue and then yeah, I don't know. But no, it wasn't harsh. If anything, it just was lacking like the definition in the highs as much as it could be. Yeah, like you could add hats or like you said, risers that are like pure white noise and get those sparkly highs up there a little bit. More variation, yeah, just add drum fills and the best thing for variation is actually to like remove elements sometimes. So like at one section in a track, have just the vocals going with the bass and take out all the drums, or have just the vocals and take everything out, or like just mute things sometimes, and that's like enough variation usually. But yeah, cool song. I liked it.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing for me that had some harsh frequencies is this bass right here. Like, I feel like this, what is that, like the 3K ish? And maybe it's just because the rest of the mix is so lacking in the highs, but it's sticking out so much. In that higher kind of peaky area, like the 3K range. But this is in comparison to everything else too. So maybe when you do bring up all of the other stuff, like especially like hi-hats, for example, like I could really barely hear the hi-hats in this. But I think if you bring those up, because like the balance between the high end of the bass and the hi-hats is off, I would say. Like the hi-hats should be a little bit more obvious or at least noticeable than, you know, the higher to higher mid frequencies of the bass. But yeah, no, I think other than that, the kick sounded good. I think that the low end sounded good. Your side chain sounded good. Like everything else sounded quite nice. I really liked the sound choices for the drums. I don't think it needs more variation, but I'm honestly not sure. So the vocals are kind of carrying like everything as far as the variation is concerned. So if you're keeping the vocals, I'm sure it'll be fine. But I do think that the song would be a little bit easier to mix if you didn't have the vocals. And then at that point, you'd probably need to do more variation to the basses. But as it is now, it doesn't sound like there's not enough variation. So I'm not going to use a double negative there. It sounds like there is enough variation. But yeah, Blonde, those are my thoughts. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I mean, as far as variation goes, I think if I were to listen to this without the vocals, maybe, but it seems like the riffing is pretty tied to the vocals. So, I mean, you've got room to grow with it. Since we have a time limit on these songs, maybe you do have a longer version, but you could stand to make a version of this where the vocals are not present during parts. So you could like kind of flex on the sound design a little bit. But I mean, I think it was a pretty complete sounding song. I think there's a little bit of stuff you could do to the vocals, but that seems like a little bit of a to taste issue. So if you like them the way they are, I think it sounds pretty good. Mag kind of pointed out like some frequencies that were harsh. I am listening to this through Discord, so yes, there is some like loss of quality on my end, but I think that you're pretty damn close. I would say listen to Mag's mixing advice more so than mine. Yeah, no, I like that.
I thought it was a good song. I still think like I know you really want to keep the vocals, and that's okay. It's just, yeah, it's going to be really hard to mix this song if you keep the vocals during the drop. It's going to be like the thing about bass music in general is you want to have like one, maybe two or three focused elements at a time. And I feel like when it comes to like the main thing that the person is trying to pay attention to, which in bass music is like that mid bass and the sub, that there should really only be like one thing taking up that kind of space in the mix, for the most part, right? Unless you're filtering it out or doing like fills or things like that, or maybe a pre-drop or something like that. But like when there's that sound existing, it really helps to only have that sound, because then you can make it really forward in the mix and there's nothing distracting from it. But as soon as you put vocals in there, it's kind of like a distraction, you know? And I think that the distraction just takes away from the vibes. But, you know, these are just my thoughts, my guy. You keep the vocals. Just, it's going to be hard to mix. All I can recommend when it comes to the mixing is cut the frequencies that are most present in the vocals out of the bass. Like you want to get rid of the overlapping, so that way the vocals can stand out more easily. There's like unmasking tools for that. That's like the technical term, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for submitting this again. That was cool seeing it evolve, and I hope that you continue to work on it. So yeah, thanks. All right, on to the next one. We got Twan X Scrooge, Universe, or is it Nuniverse? I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's Nuniverse. Sounds funny.
It's the universe where everyone's a nun.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, let's get it.
Sound of Music Part 2.
It's religion, and I think that says spirit.
Descended from the nothingness, born from dark matter of abyss, born again as nuns incarnate. Take the leap if you feeling froggish. Light is a lie learned from the head of the serpent. I ascended from the nothingness, born from dark matter of abyss, born again as nuns incarnate. Take the leap if you feeling froggish. Light is a lie learned from the head of the serpent. Ascended from the nothingness. Shall pass. Cooking beats in the crock pot.
All right, well, I kicked us off the last time, so Blonde or someone. I saw you
I'll
weren't
go
muted,
first.
so.
All right. So for the first question, two instances of basically the same build bugs me about this track. Feels lazy to do. Uh, this I'm a little bit like torn up on this question because I agree the build up, if you add like sick variation to the second build up, it's cool. But the build up doesn't really have to change that much if the second drop comes in like correct. Like if the second drop flips the first one really well, the build up can be the same because actually that kind of makes the impact a little bit better because you're kind of feeling the same thing and then you bring this new take on what you just heard. I don't think that that's something to stress about too much, but in order to build, you can switch like stuff to triplets or kind of swap up the timing, maybe even like add a little bit of extra time after the build before the drop just to like build some like nonsensical tension. But
I feel like he could put his vocals over the second build and like warp them or pitch them up or do some cool delay echoey stuff. I don't know.
yeah, there's not
Like,
much you have to really do to,
yeah.
but I don't think that using the same drop is really a problem as long as the second drop flips the first one so that you don't feel like you're listening to the same song again. Not that I'm saying this song has that problem, but as far as the variations on the drop goes, you don't really have to worry about that too much. Um, what's the second question? Well, so I kind of saw the second and third question as the same, and I remember last time I was on feedback, we talked about, I don't know if we came up with a real term for it, but checkerboarding, like soloing certain elements of the song or cutting out various elements so that you kind of like add this like space that comes and goes within the track. Like in the first drop, I think you could get away with not doing it, but for the second one, I would really suggest cutting bits out, adding some negative space so that you have a little bit more swing because the first and second drops are different, but they're kind of similar. So if you just add a little bit more like funky swing using negative space to the second drop, I think it would benefit the song as a whole. But that's all I got, guys. On to you.
Yeah, Colin, do you want to
Um,
flex?
yeah. Um, so I actually really like the melodic elements. I like that. It was some weird sounds. It was I liked it. Whatever you're doing, I like it. I would not remove them. Don't take them out. You like answer your own questions. It's kind of funny. Should I focus on creating some space pauses in the main drops? I mean, it sounds like you want to do it. You should. Um, Momentary breaths. Yeah, like just drum fills or like ripping it out. A little break would be cool. Play around with the notes of the bass. No, don't do that. I've realized like if you get too like you change the melody or the consistency up of the bass and it's not like a completely different drop. Like you can do that in the second drop, but like the first drop, keep the melodic pacing and the melodic motif the same. If you get too weird with that, like it can be a big disconnect with the listener. Um, I will say the bass did not feel like it was up front. And I feel like with this style of music, the bass, the neuro bass should be like, "Wow," like it should be like the main attraction, like right in your face. And I feel like it was kind of in the back and like the drums and everything else was kind of obscuring it. And I do think the kick is like 3 dB too loud, 3 or 4 or 5. It's a little bit too loud. It is punchy, it kicks, it fucking thumps, but like with my system right here, it's so much louder than everything else. And it's a good kick. It just needs to be turned down a little bit. But I'm guessing in your song, you want the focus to be that little bass. You want that. Do you want that to be up front or do you want the melody to be up front? Because you have to make that decision and then you can use like production skills to move something up front or to push something else to the back. But if everything's fighting for the front space, it won't work. And like Blonde said, checkerboarding, that's why we do sidechain, because like you checkerboard, the kick gets its own space in that instant time, that instantaneous 100 milliseconds, the kick is there, and then the bass comes back out. But if the bass comes out with the melody and they're all trying to say something, it just feels like an argument instead of a conversation, you know? Bad metaphor. But yeah, just decide like what do you what do you want? What you could do is like have the neuro basses directly mono in the center and loud, and like have it like articulated and like be right front and center, no mono. And then you for the melodies, you could like do some stereo spread, or even straight up panning, because those are pretty high register melodies. You can get away with panning them pretty heavily, like past 3 o'clock even. And then that gives room for the bass to be right in the center, and then like the melodies on the periphery. But other than that, dude, I liked it. It was its own unique vibe. Very very cool.
Yeah. Wait, are you done? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So I feel like my thought process goes like this, because I did actually hear this once before Fief tonight. I think that the build up thing, yeah, I think the gang already explained like basically everything I was thinking. The only thing I think you could do is maybe add more percussion in the second one, like just make it like a little bit more like, yeah, just like add more percussion, like, because all you have I think is like hi-hats. You could add like, you know, perks or claps or something, like anything really, like drum or perk or, you know, related, and that would probably help with like, you know, subtly changing it just enough to where it's different, but obviously not so much that it doesn't feel like it belongs in the song. I think that your second question, I agree with Colin completely. I really think that the bass, in comparison, so like the melodic elements are balanced well between each other, but then like the bass feels like it's being obscured by them. So yeah, I think that I liked Colin's idea. I think it'd be really cool to make the mono or center space like exist for the bass, and then the stereo image exist for the melodic stuff. And then yeah, I think that your third question, should you focus on creating some space or pauses in the main drops as little momentary breaths, and or play around with the notes of the bass? So I think that I learned this recently, at least with some of the tracks I'm working on within color bass, because I had been doing this unintentionally inside of the squonk step stuff. But when I started messing around with color bass, I was kind of making similar styled I guess arrangements to what you're doing here, where I would just have like one continuous like vibe happening. And the problem with that is you have no dynamics. So then you lose all of the you basically lose all of the impact, because, you know, maybe the first part of the drop sounds great, but then after like, you know, 1 bar or 2 bars, it's like already beginning to start being less impactful because it's all the same level. So yeah, I think you could definitely benefit from having more space in between each thing that's happening. And I'm gonna like semi disagree with Colin a little bit. I think Colin's right with the bass note energy idea and the melodics and motif of the song. I do think that it's worth keeping a similar motif or the same motif throughout the song. But your motif, and I said this to you already, but I'm going to say it again. Your motif is sitting on an F note the whole time. And I think you could get away with like, you know, just one other note in there, like an F sharp or an A sharp, or even like anything really. Any other note, I think just ever so often. It doesn't even need to leave F very often, but just every so often having that little bit of a reprieve frequency wise, I think makes the basses hit harder, because it's just another way to add a little bit of dynamics. So yeah,
I will say if you do change like a note like from F, just make sure it's consistent, or it's like repeated and isn't just like I decided at the end of this 4 bars it's actually just going to be an E. Because if you do that and it never repeats, it's going to be like, what? It's just the song's going to sound off tone. So whatever you do, just make it like repeat it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like in the pattern of the song, like if you have like, let's say there's a like your drop is 16 bars and every 4 bars is like a section of the drop. At the end of those 4 bars, if you wanted to change a note, you would want to change that note for all 4 of those sections in the drop. So like every 4 bars, you would have that same kind of little variation. But yeah, something like that I think would benefit this song a lot, because I have found that it just adds enough And it doesn't even have to be crazy. Like, I feel like one note away is more than enough, and then going back to that root note is totally fine. But yeah, still a cool track. I think that the sound design is getting spicy. So yeah, I'm excited to see you
Yeah,
keep flexing.
your sound design is like, I kind of checked out for a week or so, and when I came back, your shit had a lot more grease on it, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. Like your flip last night had like you've really stepped up like the kind of like grimy sound design. So really keep it up, dude.
Hell
Keep
yeah.
doing whatever you're doing.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Twan. Scrooge, the G. All right, next up, let me reload this. Let me make sure. Yeah, let me reload this. All right. Purple.
I just want to go back. That was a fun little end to the song there. Yeah, I mean, do you guys want to kick this off, or should I?
It's up to you guys. I can go first.
All right,
I have
word.
some stuff written down. First question about the drums. I think the drums are great. The main synth is the only thing that I think kind of needs some work. I like the melody of it. It feels like you're kind of stuck between like a hyper saw and a wub. And I think you'd be better off really picking which one you want to go with and like following that a little bit more, because it doesn't pump as much as I would like, but I like the whole song. It's like literally just like this lead thing that you have going on that I'm like, it's like got some phasing things happening, and then it sounds a little bit out of place because you could push this song in like either a kind of more like dubby direction or a more like EDM-y direction. So I think whittling out or figuring out how to treat that main thing would help figure out what I expect or what I think this first question is actually about. Because the drums are really good. It just if you change the direction of the song, the drums are gonna just have to change like the sample themselves. But I think it all kicks through, like the kick comes through fine. Hats are groovy. I didn't hear this song last time you submitted it, so I don't know last time like repetition and everything. I don't think it's too repetitive at all. I really think that if you were to make that lead synth more interesting to my ears, I would be like, oh, there's so many variations that you can make with this to make it sound fat. But I really think figuring out that main synth would help the whole thing, just the direction of it. But I really like the groove. I like the beat. I like all of it. It's just the main synth I had an issue with. But there's not much you have to change. And once you find the right thing in there, I mean, it's not like just attack and release is all you're gonna have to mess with. But that's really all I have on this one. Transition in the middle, I didn't hear it last week, but thought it worked.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm gonna disagree again. I think that the kick was the only thing that could like impact the other instruments a little bit more. Like I feel like on a song like this, like a little bit of pumping would be nice. Just like a little bit. Because you can see how when this kick is hitting, it's like not moving everything else enough considering how girthy and thumpy it is. Now that's just my opinion, but I think that it would really benefit a little bit more aggressive side chaining, and not even like a lot of side chaining. Like you don't even have to fully cut things out when the volume is ducking, but I think that it needs to be ducked for longer, if that makes sense. So if you're doing volume automation side chaining, increase the length of your shape. If you are side chain compressing, then increase the, I guess it would be the release of the compressor. But yeah, I think in general, it's not bad. It's just that I think that it would benefit from a little bit more of that so that the kick is more noticeable on the mid and high frequencies. Because on the low end, it's fine. But then like there's this energy in the mids and highs that I think if you have some level of sidechain feeling there, then you can actually feel the kick more. But anyway, does the transition in the middle of the song flow better now? Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought that the transition felt really natural this time around, which was good. So yeah, I thought that was a great improvement. And as far as repetitiveness, I think so. I honestly don't know what you did to compare. So you shifted some notes an octave or two and added some stops and threw in more LFO movements. I think it was enough. Like whatever you did was more than enough, because I thought that the variation was there. I think subtly I agree with Blonde's idea. I do think timbrally things are getting a little bit clashy as far as like the LFO main synth with the little kind of faster synth LFO things happening. But I think it can be done if you have if the groove is more aggressive. So basically if the kick sidechain is more like forward in the mix so that you can feel the movement of all the other synths, then I don't think it'll matter as much. But those are just my thoughts. I think that it's a really cool track though. And the improvements are really nice, especially arrangement wise with the motif, kind of still being carried throughout the song, but the variation of the notes was good. Yeah. The octave up and down. This guy knows what he's up to, honestly. This guy knows what he's doing by doing this. But yeah, what do you think, Colin? Those are my thoughts.
Okay. First thing I noticed, one, I like the vibe. It's cool. It would work good. You said you want it for consumer systems. Yeah, it's just a good chill out track. You could honestly like sell it to people for commercials or for their promo videos or something, and it would work. I also really like that I don't know if you made it or if it was a sample, but this little that little wind, that
What
little
what time? What timestamp? I'll just play
oh
it.
my God, it's so cool. It's at 37, 35. It starts at 34.
Just want to go back.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Continue.
know. That was cool.
Yeah.
So the lead synth, the stereo imaging of it, it sounds like it's predominantly right, and like even in the lower mids, which usually you want the lower mids like centered, and then you kind of spread the higher frequencies. And this one's predominantly right. So my brain was just confused as I was listening to it because it's like the biggest sound in the song, other than the drums and the sub, is like primarily just over here, and then there's like little stuff over here, but it just felt like slightly imbalanced. I don't know how you'd go about it because you have a bunch of different sounds in there. Um, I don't know, just be intentional about where you're placing things in the stereo field because if that's like a mess, it's way harder for the brain, like for anyone to enjoy it because your brain's trying to make calculations while you're listening, going like, okay, where is it? Okay, what is it? Like it's trying to categorize these sounds, but when it's already placed correctly, it's like a easy, enjoyable listen. Um, Other than that, I don't know. I think the drums sounded good. If you're just making like a chill out track, personally, I think you can push the loudness quite a bit and still retain the dynamics because it was averaging like 13 LUFS, negative 13. I think you could push it a bit further. But if you're aiming for that like Spotify number so it doesn't get turned down, then it's probably pretty good. Um, Transition, thought that was good. Shifted some notes and all good. Yeah, no, it was good. It was consistent enough and not too repetitive. So yeah, I don't know. It's solid. I like it. Just clarify like which sounds are happening at any given time and where. On the export, it's -8. Okay, maybe SoundCloud or something's turning it down. Or maybe my mini meters is wrong. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. But if that's -8, yeah, you're probably fine.
The big thing as well is if you're clipping, I kind of showed this before in a previous video or FIF, but if you're clipping on the master above 0 dB, just be conscious of the fact that if you're uploading it to a streaming platform, it's probably going to get compressed, which means that it's probably not going to sound exactly the same. So if you are planning on uploading it, have like a version, like you can obviously play that one out live and there'll be no issues. But if you're going to upload it to a streaming platform, yeah, clip it or limit it, or basically make sure that there's nothing going above 0 dB. And then be conscious of that and how that sounds and be like, okay, that's how I want my song to sound. And then you'll be good. But this is like just for the uploaded streamed version, because like if you're playing the WAV file out on a speaker system, that doesn't matter. But this is just to get around the algorithmic compression stuff that pretty much every single streaming platform has. So
I think if it senses like you don't have true peak turned on, then it will like enable its own true peak.
yeah,
Something like that.
and its is like, I feel like its true peak is so unfriendly to loudness.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna get rid of the loudness. If it ever goes over 0, it compresses to that point. Yes, or lower. Like I would say it sounds even lower than that. But if you have it at 0, then I've noticed it just leaves your track alone. Yeah, what Dino's saying. So if you have like minus point, like usually what I do is like -0.1. Dino's a little bit more safe. He's at -0.5. But in general, like having something below 0 and having your true peak set to that is going to keep you from having this issue happen where SoundCloud turns down your music. or any streaming platform really, including like YouTube or
And since you want consumer, you're aiming for consumer grade systems, keep true peak limiting on. If you want to play like blast this shit as loud as it can go, fuck true peak, fuck the SoundCloud algorithm, just like sell WAV files to DJs with it going over.
facts,
But yeah.
straight facts. But yeah, I think is that everything everyone wanted to say? I thought that was a nice track, nice happy, calm vibe. Felt good, man. I like the changes. Keep flexing. Okay, who's this guy? The old Percy. Typewrite, maybe final. Okay.
Hello there. This is your conversaphone instructor. Who will teach you the essentials of touch typing quickly and efficiently. Learning touch typing is really quite easy. Follow my instructions carefully, and by the time you have finished this record, you will have mastered the typewriter keyboard. Place both thumbs gently on the space bar, which is at the bottom of the keyboard. Place a piece of paper in your typewriter. At this point, we are ready to begin typing. Try not to look at the keys when typing, and don't worry about mistakes. They will disappear with practice. Now, let's begin to type some words. W, H, I, M, P, E, R, S. Good.
That was dope.
Dude, I love that so much. You played it for me the other day, and I really fucking love that song.
Holy shit, dude. That was amazing. Good shit.
Yeah, do one of you guys want to start? I'm still kind of thinking.
Colin, you want to start, or I can go?
I have no complaints.
I'll go
no
first.
gripes.
I heard this
Let me
the
read
other
the question.
day, so I have a few thoughts. I think the way that you used the typewriter samples was awesome. I think that was really cool. I would have liked at some point if the typewriter key sounds were like pop, 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 like panning back and forth really quickly. Maybe even just for the intro as like kind of a drawn out like taka, 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 taka thing. But this is like a really, really well constructed song that I can see the visuals for it while listening to it. Like it's something that you could play with a live band. Like this is like like this isn't just an electronic song. This sounds like an actual song written on real instruments by a real musician. Um, the vocals, I mean, I really do like these vocals. The fluttery stuff on the second drop, I think that if you cut it out when the snare comes in, so it's like ba, instead of having that like kind of tail on it, I think that would add a little bit to the effectualness of it. But you don't necessarily have to have that happen on every single hit. I think that on the first one, maybe first few, that would work. Um, Perks and drums, any issues? Dude, I think that this is pretty damn close to finished. Mix wise, probably a couple of things here and there, but I really think the biggest critique I have of it is in that second drop having those fluttery sounds cut out when the snare comes in. But I really like this song. I could see this being like actually pretty popular because it feels very Legend of Zelda-y, but not like on the nose. I really like this vibe. It's very nostalgic feeling, and the sample that you chose to use is better than the presidential fitness test sample. You did a really good you did some good work. Good work, bro. But yeah, I think it was better than the last time I heard it, which might have been 2 days ago. So keep at it, dude. This is you're really close to finishing this, and it's gonna be very good.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the bass is fine. I think the Vox are great. I think the drums and the perks are great. I know that you're probably like not wanting to hear this. Maybe you are wanting to hear this. I think all three of those questions I have really nothing to like answer in like a way that is like helpful when it comes to feedback. They're all, I think, perfect. I think I agree with Blonde. I'm still kind of on the fence about the panning at all. It's not bad, but I think that there does need to be some moments where it's not panning while it's doing that. Just because like, or at the very least, I don't know, maybe I need to hear this through like a mono system and then give you a better opinion on it. But in the headphones, it didn't really sit nicely. Like I wasn't like, I don't think I would have missed it if it wasn't panning is what I'm saying in the headphones where, yeah. So like maybe it sounds fine on a mono system anyway, but like my point is by having the headphones and experiencing the stereo field, like the left and right thing, I just didn't really like feel like it added a lot personally. But I do like the like tremolo of it, like it going up and down in volume. It's just that the panning didn't seem as necessary. I think that there's one thing, yeah, so like if it's mainly for headphones, I don't know, it wasn't like, I don't know, it was like more distracting than exciting, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I think that if you were a little bit more, instead of it going from like left to right very quickly, you were a little bit more like just placing it in the stereo image and having it like swoop through from like left to right slowly, or something like that. I think that would be really cool, but I think that it just going fast, it doesn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel like great. It wasn't like something I was like, wow, this is amazing. But everything else was, so that's why I'm just being dead ass with you. I do think there's one thing that I really wanted to be able to hear better, and that was this final vocal.
S. Good. S. R. S. Good.
This little vocal thing at the very end, I have no idea what he's saying, and I want to know what he's saying. You know, it feels kind of covered up by the nice little chords you have here. So either unmask those or figure out which one you want on top. Cause yeah, I can hear like the whimpers goes hard. Like this whole whimper section is dope. In fact, I was really impressed by that. I don't know if you're using like, I don't know what you did, but that was really dope. But I think that this specific note?
Good.
Because it sounds like he's saying something else. Like, is it high or something? I don't know. He's saying something at the end here, and I want to know what he's saying. So maybe, he says good. Okay, yeah, I couldn't hear that. So I would say make that a little bit clearer because I really like that being forward. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think this track is amazing. Everything else is, I think even like, so this panning thing that I was talking about earlier, that's just my opinion. And I don't think it's like, I'm not like 100% sure I'm even like to the wall with that opinion. But, yeah, I just wasn't as like excited by it as I thought I would be. So I don't know if it's necessary. But I also don't know for certain until I would try that. But that's just how I felt about it. But I think everything about this, the arrangement's amazing. Mixing is amazing. I think it's awesome. This is a cool song. All right, Colin.
Okay. Yeah, dude, this good job. Very good job. I'm gonna nitpick here because you asked for it. What were a few things? So one, I feel like you could add, there could be more like shimmery sparkle, like the 8K and above range. If we play back, if Brad can play like just the second drop, we can look at the mini meters. You'll notice the hi-hats above a certain range are just on their own. They're the only thing in that register just going and nothing else in the mix is connecting to them. And I think you could add some like white noise or some wispy kind of atmosphere, very high register stuff that like is like breathing, just
Yeah,
just like
I'll play it real quick.
yeah. Notice.
I see what you're saying. It's like
It's
just
literally
the hi-hat.
only the hi-hats in that area, yeah. And I think you could connect something else to it, like wispy. You could put a shimmer reverb on one of the sounds in there, bounce it to audio, and then like design it as just an ambient like background kind of wispiness that you don't even really hear, but it like helps direct the song. And that's just decoration at this point. But I thought that could help connect the hats because there's not much information up there other than the hats, and you might as well fill out the spectrum. Perks and drums and issues. I think the claps were obscured. Some of the claps were obscured during the drops or during the main parts, but that's just nitpicking. It was just a few claps were maybe a little bit muffled or like covered by the rest of the elements. There's one other thing. What was it? Oh, I saw on mini meters. Hope it's not lying to me. At some parts, there was information below 25 hertz. I don't know if you want that. So I've heard some mastering engineers say that can add like weight and like it can help, even though the speakers can't reproduce it, our brain can like psychoacoustically hear it and it can be cool or something. But most engineers just cut out everything under 30 hertz. So I don't know. Maybe experiment, use a linear phase filter if it's on your master or something. I don't know. But yeah, dude, great song. Get that mastered professionally. Some good stuff.
Nice. That was cool. I guess I'll start. I think I know what I want to say. So, build up. I think that it's not too dead, but I think that it has too much frequency information. Like there's too much stuff in the lower, mainly like low mids. I think you could get away with like removing a little bit more of the low mids and maybe even some stereo information, so making it more mono and then kind of giving it all back at this section. But I think like instrumentation wise or arrangement wise, it's fine. But I think that mixing wise, you could get away with kind of subliminally making this feel like it's a little bit more tension filled. I also think that the piano question that you have is a pretty interesting one. I think that the best way to put piano in a mix is to make it, you can either go two ways, right? You can make it like really affected or really like clean. I prefer making it clean. And I think the best way to do it is just to make sure it's at a really nice volume, not like overpowering in terms of like the volume of it, but like you can hear it, and then EQing it so that it's not in the way of other stuff. And then maybe sidechaining it if it feels like it needs it. But yeah, that's usually all I do. And then if you really want to put a reverb on it, my thought process is that's what I was about to say. If you want to do a reverb, I usually either do a really transparent kind of like a room reverb or something that just basically puts it in a space, like a studio reverb or something really transparent like that, or a really like eternally long-tailed reverb. Like I built one called my Hybrid Atmos rack, but there's like tons of stuff like that. Like there's Pro R presets that are like that. I think it's called like Eternity on Pro R. There's like really basically just a really long reverb. And then yeah, your third question, it's a good question. I think that it really depends on the track, but in most cases people are putting their kicks at like -6 decibels. Does that really matter? I mean, not like entirely, but I do think that the kick was a little bit loud, just a little bit loud, and I think the way that you can make it feel more impactful without it being too loud is to just make the sidechain more aggressive or add some more sidechaining elements so that the kick can stand out in the mix more easily when it's existing. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What do you guys think?
I guess I'll go next. Does the build-up seem too dead? I really liked the build-up. You're doing this kind of like cinematic thing. I think that it kind of worked. During the drop, the first thing I wrote down, the response bass is kind of lost in the sauce. Like your call thing is pretty loud, response is kind of washed out. And I don't know how you processed all of this. Maybe you need to like separate the basses there, saturate them a little bit, maybe like sprinkle a little bit of high end kind of boost in there. That seemed a little dead because the call and response, they kind of have to have the same beef coming at you in order for them to work. But it seemed to get better as the song went on. So I don't know what the deal was there, but I do think that the response part of the drop could be a little bit played with. For the second question, I don't really. There's a lot going on with your question, and I don't know if maybe Mag can answer me here or help here, but like maybe doing some like subtractive EQ to the rest of the song, or like dynamic EQ, or maybe even just like a multi-band sidechain, like sidechaining out the frequencies that the piano is in.
Yeah.
If you want it to stand out more, I don't really know what the best way to do that is, but
Yeah,
is that dynamic EQ? Is that even the right word for that?
Yeah, well, like it's all about this theory of like unmasking sounds so like the idea is you're essentially removing frequencies that the piano in this case would be taking up in the mix dynamically. And yeah, you could do that with a bunch of different tools. And I feel like the exception in my opinion, with that is you still want to be conscious of the low mids and the lows of the piano, because you really don't want that like being too overwhelming, because you want, like in this type of a song, like we heard the basses, like you don't want to dip into like your low mids too much, or your low lows, like your subs and stuff like that, because that belongs to the bass. But yeah, continue, Don.
Gotcha.
Continue, Blonde. Sorry.
I just wasn't even sure if that was the right like
Yeah, no, yeah. That works great.
verbiage.
Yeah, dynamic EQ or sidechain compression or Ringmod sidechain or unmasking.
Even like,
Many
because
words.
sometimes sidechain, it just like lowers the volume on everything. And that's not what you would want in this case. It's just like the bands where the piano exists, but not for the parts where the piano isn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want it to stand out, you have to kind of isolate it. But also, piano, there's 88 keys there. That's a lot to focus on. But then for the third, as far as, is there a consensus with like relative loudness of drums and bass? This is a vibes game, man. Honestly, like let the guy who's mastering your song figure out all the other shit. You just got to make it sound like pretty damn close. As close as you can make it. Like ideally all of it is pretty damn similar in volume, but really like before you send it off to get mastered, unless you're a mastering guy, in which case you probably already know the answer to this, like it's really just to taste, you know. But yeah, my biggest thing with that was the response bass. I think that making that a little bit more beefy would be nice, and then the piano could stand out a little bit more, but I wouldn't want it to at the expense of the rest of the song. So I'll hand the mic to whoever, whichever direction it goes.
Your left.
My left.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So
your
it's
left.
I've been on the far right before and pointed that way, and it was wrong. Things got shuffled.
Yeah. But now, Colin, what do you think? Oh, is he there?
Ah,
He's gone. Oh, he's back.
Shit, I meant to
there he is.
unmute. My bad. No, I have so many windows open. I couldn't even find Discord. Just leave.
All right, see you guys.
Shit, I can hear
Till
myself.
next week.
Okay. Couple things. One, your sub bass has all the harmonics, all like 3 of them. So, one, the sub, if you're playing in like cars or big systems, the sub isn't gonna feel like it's not gonna hit as hard because it has all those gear bass
Yo, Colin, your mic
harmonics in them.
is ever so slightly muffled.
So and that's also probably most like is what's clashing with your piano. Yeah. So I would just make the sub bass, or hold on, because it seems like it's pretty integral to the sound you're making. I would maybe just like, if you can, in the synthesis part of that bass, turn down the second harmonic. Don't go in there with an EQ and try to turn it down, or use a OTT or multiband dynamics. I would try to do it at the synthesis level if you can. If it's already like baked in, then maybe like multiband could help that. As for the piano, what the fuck? Why is it fucking muffled?
Just some technical difficulties. You know.
Is that better?
Oh, it's so much better. It's so much better.
Yep, dude.
I can't
that's
hear
clear.
shit.
So much better.
God damn it. I don't even know what happened.
Well, it's okay.
Oh, I think it's picking up audio from my fucking shitty little webcam. Can you still hear what I'm saying though, or?
Yeah, I turned you
Yeah,
up
we
too,
can
so
hear
we
you
could
now.
hear you. But now you're fine, Colin. You're fine now. There's no muffling.
Yep, dude.
Is it better?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, get that second harmonic kind of turned down from the synthesis level so your piano can mix over it better. But honestly, a better solution is to arrange it better through checkerboarding. So when the bass is playing, only have piano that's in the higher registers. You're probably gonna have to duplicate the channel, and then like when the bass plays, have a piano that's like above it, and then when the bass stops, then you can have full band piano again. Don't try to do both because you'll usually end up like trying to fit them together, and they'll just be fighting, and you'll have to nuke them both a little bit to get them to get along, and then neither of them shine that well. So I would pick one thing to kind of shine at a time, and everything else kind of supports it, and then they take turns shining and then supporting. I will say this part at 2 minutes or 150, I really like this. I don't know why. Because it's like just the piano, right? Just the piano, drums, and some like cool atmospheric stuff. It's like simplified. My brain is like, oh, I can grasp that. It's not too much going on. So yeah, I would try to checkerboard the main drop part before 150. The drums you made really loud. I think they were pretty good volume. Maybe everything else just needs to get clarified a little bit. And then you can turn them up, and then they'll match the drums. I don't think the drums need to get turned down. I think everything else needs to get clarified enough so then they can then get turned up to match the drums. And then you can smash them all together with a limiter, call it a day. But I would definitely like a mastering engineer can only do so much. They cannot fix like baked in hold on. Fucking feedback. They can't, I don't know, they can't fix everything for you. So you got to make it like as good as you can. If anything, you should learn how to master yourself so you kind of understand the process. Is there any consensus regarding the volume of the kick and snare relative to the bass? Yes. The kick should be just about as loud as a sub, maybe even a little bit hotter. And then when it rolls down into its bottom like frequency, that should roll into the bass. Preferably. It doesn't have to, but it should like kind of glide into the bass. The snare, it depends on the type of snare, really. Every song is different. But if you're making like what kind of snare is this? Yeah, it's a thick one. So I don't know. I think it's at a good level. What I do think you could do is compress it, like SSL style compress it, so it's more of like a and not just a it's just kind of like a smack, but it's very long. I think you could shape that transient to be more like just like natural, like give it that nice little transient curve, and then it will sound more like a drum that's being like thwacked in front of you and not just a sample that's just like playing every note, every bar or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it, and I love piano too, dude. I actually have some songs I try to mix with bass, and it's hard as fuck. That's why you kind of have to checkerboard, pick one or the other at any given time. But good stuff, dude.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Serenix. I don't know if I've seen you on here before, so welcome to Fief. Yeah, no, that was cool.
Dude.
That was nice. I thought that was fun. Yeah, I always enjoy hearing the different sound designing timbres. But yeah, wait.
Like one thing with like loudness of the snare, sometimes the hotness of the sidechain can really like doesn't matter how loud your snare is if your sidechain is going too fucking crazy because it'll just mess everything up. So like in something like that, when I read the question about the drums, I was like, oh, this is about to be loud as fuck, and it really was not crazy. But if you make more space for the drums using side chains, then the levels might need to be adjusted just a little bit because now things are sitting on their own. So that is one thing to keep in mind. But
yeah, because before they were fighting and now they're not fighting, So
yeah, and I read that third question and I was like, what the fuck is this about to be like? But the drums were not as abrasive as that question led me to believe. So
yeah,
I thought it was about to be some like tear out craziness.
Yeah, Colin's spitting facts. I feel like the analog stuff is kind of just based on what you're used to doing, but you can do
very loud.
Yeah, you can literally do anything with like an EQ is an EQ, a compressor is a compressor, a saturator is a saturator.
Just know which ones, like linear phase, zero latency. Just know like what the tools do. You can do it all digitally. It'll sound just as good, if not better.
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can save a lot of money paying someone with analog shit to master your stuff instead of buying the $10,000 worth of analog gear you need to master songs. So
That too.
don't buy that. Just don't. Someone already owns it, and they're more than willing to do it for you. So
Yeah.
Now, if you're
Enough
making
that.
R&B or like instrumental
Yes.
stuff, you might need it.
Well, the
Yeah.
interesting thing is after lots of research, I have noticed that analog emulated software is identical to analog hardware. So instead of having to spend 10 grand to get your tube compressor, tube saturator, or whatever, you can just get the emulated version of it, and it's literally the same. You know, you're probably missing like a 0.01% as far as like the exact same thing, but it is definitely not noticeable. So yeah, no, I think the reality is when it comes to analog sauce is like there is no sauce. It's just, you know, what do you prefer using and what are you more familiar with? That's really all it is, in my opinion, of course. All right, next up, we got a raccoon in the house. Oh boy. Okay, so let me reload this because I think his questions were. Oh, they're not here.
No.
They're not here. He lied to us. No, I'm just kidding. Hang on. Let me see. I fumbled and put them in the track description. Is it not in this track description?
Yeah, you might have to like.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Hokie. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Is the snare getting buried by the basses, especially in the high end? I'm just gonna do a little thing here. Is it just the two questions? Just making sure before I. Oh wait, I see the third question. You combined the other two. That was sneaky. He pulled a sneaky on us, lads. All right. There. So is the snare getting buried by the basses, especially in the high end? I think the snare and the kick are kind of buried, I'll be honest. That was like my first thought while listening to this, even without your questions. But I could see what you're trying to do here. So like I get it, man. You're trying to make the song loud and the bass sounds great. So I feel like yeah, if you could just make some room like for the drums, like the kick and snare, either bring them up louder or make them like a little bit more sidechained. I don't know how you want to approach it, but yeah. Um those are my thoughts. Is the second half of the drop underwhelming compared to the first? I didn't notice anything in that regard. I do see what you're saying. I think that it's fine though. I think that you might be able to get away with like a little bit more spice in the breaks or in like the little turnaround points. Maybe like a little bit more drum filly type stuff. I mean, your fills are good, but I think you could get away with just making them a little bit more crazy in the second half to get away with like what you're doing as far as the underwhelmingness. Because I don't think it like feels underwhelming, but you can really like hit that home by making the turnarounds and the flow of it feel a little bit more exciting. And then is the sub hitting and following the flow nicely? Yeah, no, I didn't even notice anything like that. So, yeah, I feel like the biggest thing for me was the drums. The drums just felt buried. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts?
As far as the drums getting buried, I didn't really notice it until Mag said something, but I think that that's just a, you'll figure that one out as you keep working on it. It might even just be like increasing the like time on the side chain just a touch. Second half of the drop, I didn't notice anything like that. Sub hitting, following the flow. I know we've talked before about like checkerboarding, but this is like more of a complex thing that you're doing. So I don't really know if like having the sub like kick like pump the same way that the highs are going would even really help that much. I really liked what you had going. I do think that you could add a little bit more space in there to make it a little groovier, but I mean, as usual, you brought the thunder. I really fucked with it. It's really just like a mix down thing with the drums that I think would make it punch a little harder, and maybe adding a little bit of negative space with the sub just at the beginning of the first drop, or maybe like the beginning of the second half of it or something, just to add a little bit more swing. But as usual, I fucking love your stuff, dude. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
Okay. That was dope. 1 second. Yes, your snare is getting buried. Um, uh, Something I watch some producers do, or I've like analyzed their tracks, like Jade Cicada does this. Some Tipper tracks, I've noticed this. The snare, they will put sub in the snare, like literally 30 hertz to 60 hertz, just a tad, like 30 to 40 milliseconds of sub, even 50, I don't know, very small amount of sub or like low frequencies in a snare, and it cuts through fucking everything. And people feel it, and it's just like a good little thwack, but just make sure it's like really fucking quick. Um, I'm guessing you're side chaining, maybe do a better side chain better. I don't know. It already sounds like a good track, but yeah, the snare is getting a little buried. So I thought maybe just add weight to the snare. The sub and the basses, I was struggling with that too, struggling listening to it. And I think I noticed on mini meters, like the bass, it kind of is a kick. Like if I play it, it's like two, 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 two. It's like it goes two, 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 and they kind of sound like the same thing. So if anything, maybe you have too many kicks in the track, and it's just the kick is just like relentless, going pa-pum, 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 and then the bass is also trying to go pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. And it's just like there's too much going on, and I think you should focus on one thing being more of like a repetitive kind of, or you have them dancing off each other, but I feel like they're just trying to interrupt each other instead of vibing together, like the kick and that stabby bass. And I feel like you could either tighten them up or tighten up the arrangement, make the kick maybe shorter, or maybe have a little bit less kicks, or replace maybe one less of those bass stabs. It seems like they're all fighting for space, so they either need to be like shortened or like some of them omitted. But it's a very cool vibe, and I like the little sound throws you do. The little it just goes in your face and then it disappears. That's just really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
dude,
also
good
my
shit.
favorite. I love how stereo it is too. So you have
Yeah,
like
and
this
like
very
clear.
focused, you have all these like focused heavy hitting basses, and then you get hit with this like weird squiggly shit. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, sorry, I feel the same. I feel the same on that one.
Yeah, it's good. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, Hokey, keep flexing. Your sound design is so cool. I love it. I love it, dude. Nah, dude, I need
Yeah,
to
no,
start doing that. Yeah, preach.
as long as the majority of your track and the main ideas are like mono as fuck, you can just go crazy with the stereo field, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, facts. Yeah, thank you, Hokey. As always, we love Fiefin. We love Fiefin. All right, next up we got Dub Disciple. Disciple of the Dub. What a kind guy. He faded out at 3 minutes. What a G. What a G. I guess I'll kick it off again. I feel like the sub is still too loud in the intro, and it's actually even too loud in the drops, I would say. I would say you get away with like a teeny bit less sub in the drops, and then even less of that in the intro. I also am feeling like which question was it? I think it was this. So I think that there's too much, I guess it's like second harmonic and or mid bass interjecting with the sub during your second half here that you were asking about. Like this. Like that is definitely feeling a little bit strange in comparison to the rest of the track as far as the cleanliness of your sub is concerned. I would either high pass or remove and add a sub, or remove some of the second fundamental in those kinds of sounds, because sorry, the second harmonic, not fundamental, but you have this phasiness to it, which I'm not a huge fan of. So yeah, I would just focus on those specific sounds compared to, like, I don't know. So I think like even there you have some low mids, but you can tell that the sub is still well defined. I would focus on trying to, if you have mini meters or a metering tool, I would focus on trying to get that defined sub by, like I said, removing the frequencies in that area on your mid basses and adding a dedicated sub, or focusing more on adding like a sturdy single harmonic that isn't being surrounded by like mainly the second harmonic. All right, you cleaned up the hard panned elements, but that's not true. I feel like this hard pan thing here is not, it's not, like, I don't want to feel that. I'll be honest, I don't like that feeling personally. I feel like it's too it's like the main element of your track, and it's okay to, you know, have some balanced panning effects happening for short periods of time, but I feel like when you're doing this, especially when it's on its own, I think if it was surrounded by other things that were balancing it in the mix, it'd be fine. But in this case scenario, because it's all on its own and it's reverbed out, it just feels very unnatural. And I don't think I like it. I would say just keep it centered, and then do some frequency, you know, cutting and re-adding in that section. Any mix recommendations? I think mix wise it was pretty good. It's really just that like second harmonic on your basses that feels it just feels muddy, I guess, is like the technical term that I would use. And I would say cleaning that up would make this slap a lot harder. But those are my thoughts. I still think timbrally the song is great. The arrangement works. I just think that the mixing and the automation of volumes could be improved. And then, yeah, no panning like this. That's a no-no. But that's my opinion, of course. But I would never recommend that to anyone personally. But yeah, gang, what do you think? Those are my thoughts. Sorry for laying into you, bro. It's a great song, but I don't like panning like that, as you can tell.
Yeah, I'll go next. I kind of agree about the panning on that stuff. You could get the same effect across without doing that. And maybe it's just because I'm wearing headphones. It was really kind of strange. I don't know how that would work on like a club sound system. They generally aren't that good with the stereo. I know that there's some that are, but like those are highly sought after sound systems for very specific artists. And I don't even know if that sound in particular is what that is. I would have liked that more in mono. Pitch the entire track up a full step. That's interesting because I have seen that problem before. I think the song sounds good. I'll have to dig back through the Thief stuff and listen to it at a step down to see what that sounds like. But I really did like this. It has the workings of like a good like deep dubstep track. It's got the bones. I wasn't sold on the that second build up, but I really like the way that you went into that drop. And you're doing something that's kind of difficult is getting a sub bass to sit well with a wub that takes up that like sub frequency. But you're doing it pretty well. I think taming down a little bit more of it, unless they're, I don't know if you are using a dedicated sub or not. I know Mag said that something about that, but I do think either dedicated sub or just taming down some of like the awkward frequencies at like 120 hertz or so. But there was also a weird, and I don't know if you guys heard this. There's like a redux artifact throughout all of the parts where it's loud. There's like a high end like crispiness going on that doesn't really change. I don't know if you guys noticed that as well.
I think
Maybe
it's on the
that's
sub.
Yeah, I think the sub is clipping too, like, because
Is
it's
that
so
it?
loud. Yeah, I think it's because the
Okay.
sub is too loud and there's no limiter or clipper on it. So it's basically
Yeah.
just creating digital
I
distortion.
thought it was my headphones at first, but I thought I would say something. But yeah, I noticed something weird like that going on. But I mean, that's not too hard to fix. Just tone it back a little bit. Maybe a soft clipper on there. But I really liked this. The only thing that stood out was the second buildup. Just the panning was really kind of awkward because it went all the way out this year and then came back in this year. And I didn't really like that. But I think that you're pretty damn close. Just turn off the panning stuff in the middle, and I think that you're pretty close to it. But mixdown wise, I really did. I think this will pump on a big sound system. It's just that panning is kind of awkward.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I love that shit, dude. I don't know. I love it. It was vibey. Just mix. It just needs to be mixed a bit more intentionally. Um, Low end out of the intro subs. Yeah, that was fine. So a couple things I noticed on mini meters while the sub is playing. First off, is it a dedicated sub? Can you tell me in the comments real quick? Or are these subs baked into these sounds that you made? Because during the this middle part, there's many times where the sub is happening and then one of the sounds is like right next to it, just straight up rubbing against it, and that's not gonna play very loud. Um, let's see. Also, if you want to stereoize your sub, you can do it. Just have a very pure sub. You need a dedicated sub. Oh, he's at work. Okay, he can't comment. You need a dedicated sub. I think everyone should be using dedicated subs unless you're doing cool like tear out sounds that are soloed. Then go ham. But use a dedicated sub and then use a mid-side EQ and just on the sides, like add a dB just on like the second harmonic or even the first harmonic. You can just add like a dB, a little tiny boost, and it'll make a slight little phase difference that'll like make it feel stereo, but it'll still collapse in mono. Basically the same. Other than that, man, yeah, get a dedicated sub. I noticed during the first drop, like all the other sounds turned down when the sub hit. Everything, which is indicative of like heavy limiting on the master, heavy compression. So what I would recommend is a dedicated sub and you master and set the levels of the sub and everything under 120 hertz on its own. And then you master everything above it on its own. And then you send those two buses out to the master hot and just don't limit it, don't do anything, just send it out hot, undistorted. Ableton clipping will like handle the rest and usually does it pretty tastefully. What else? I feel like I had something else. You could also just do like Nasco has this cool rack. It's called like the low and mid high split on the master. It's basically what I just said, but you could do it in a device where you use linear phase filters to cut the everything 120 or 100 and below. You limit that or clip that on its own, and then you clip everything above it on its own. And then when they recombine, they're both maximized, but without the sub smushing everything else and without everything else like conflicting with the sub. So you just need to like clarify things, separate it where they need to be separated, boost things individually, level out like the sub on its own, and then level everything else out on its own. And yeah, it's a good track, dude. Very vibey. I really like that outro section. It's just mischievous. I like it.
Yeah, no, I think the arrangement was on point. It's a vibe. All right. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you very much. All right, next up we got Baked Potato, also known as Large Father to some, Dino to others. Oh, and Twan's in this song. Okay. Okay. I see you guys. All right. You want to kick us off this time, Blonde? What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. Snare in the second half, lacking oomph. Let's scrub through this. Could be a little umphier. Could kind of increase the threshold, or I don't even know the right terminology right now. Turn up the knob on the compressor, or increase like the release time on it on that part might make it stand out a little bit more. But with snaps like that, often if you, and I do this in my flock flips a lot because I really do like the way that snaps sound. If you compress, if you do sidechain too hard on a snap, because they don't have that much dynamic range, it cuts out way more than you want. So be a little careful in doing that because it really will be like that, kind of like, uh, like it'll cut out way more than you want. But, you're a big boy. You can mess with those knobs to get it in the right place. The vocal sample I really liked. I think that just those little bits, it's less of a vocal sample, more of an atmosphere at that point. I think it sat well in there. Sub bass wasn't really affected by SoundCloud on my end. Um, I could still feel kind of the it opening up a little bit. So I didn't really see much problem there. Arrangement wise, my big issue, you only have snare drums in half, or the snaps in half, which would be fine for most of it if you had it consistent through parts of it, like on every like half or whatever, on every two, or the twos and the threes. I just kind of noticed that it was like quiet, 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 snap, quiet, snap. I think that was a little bit odd, but for an intro, who gives a fuck? I'd say for the drop, you gotta be a little bit more in there. But I like this. You got Twan on it. Why don't you get Theme to play some guitar on that bitch? I think that it was very groovy. Yeah, I fucked with that. I'll pass the mic to next guy.
Word. Yeah, Colin, do you want to go? What do you think?
Yeah. Dino, damn. I really like that. I kind of want to make some super chill shit like that too. That was awesome. Um, the snare lacking umph, I kind of agree with you. After you said it, I kind of heard it. That's a very subtle thing. You could probably just add a very small little like tonal layer at the bottom, or like I suggested before, a tiny bit of sub to the transient to have it cut through the mix. And if not sub, then something between 100 and 300 hertz. Just a little bump, short transient. It should help, and just like glue it to the sample. It's a good sample. It's a good mix. I like it. Um, but if you want a little bit more weight on the snare, just add a little bit more low end. And not with like a EQ by boosting it, unless it works, because that could work, but usually just blending it with an already good tone is the best. The Vox, I liked them. What you could do, so they kind of wisp in and out better. Get a shimmer reverb or a nice room or something, a reverb that you really like. Just get a good tail, bounce it to audio, and then just kind of like reverse it into the vocal as it's happening, and just like, so it's just, you know what I mean, just and it just kind of tapers off, and the reverb kind of dissipates to the background, so it isn't just like this blah, but it's like a wah, and then disappears. So it's like a cool event, and it has a good transition in and out and doesn't just happen. So I think that would vibe with this track. It's all very wispy.
Oh, he says he did that.
You did? Oh, then it's not very audible. I would maybe make it a little bit more audible. Put compression on the reverb. Always compress reverbs that you want as like an effect that comes out in front. Yeah.
That being said, you could add some white noise, like stuff on top of it, make it stand a little bit more. Because clicking through it now, you don't have any of that juicy like lead up to the snaps.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that could. Yeah.
Discord is cutting out all of the audio, and it's so funny.
oh, it's cutting all that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a little before the snaps. I always
that's
like
how
it
it
when
works.
guys have that, but like, yeah, Colin's not wrong because I also didn't really hear that type of lead-in thing. So maybe layering that little like reverb swell into it with a little bit of noise would make it stand out a little bit more.
3, the sub bass movement didn't translate to SoundCloud. I think I felt it. It was cool. I liked it. That's why I'm gonna go listen in my car after Fief. I liked it. And it looked good on mini meters. Arrangement is all G, like one note, like G.
Oh, is
Ear
it all
candy
G?
transition.
Like, is it all
I
good?
know.
Oh,
Ear
thought you-
candy is great.
It's
Transitions.
all F sharp minor.
The panning, yeah, I like the panning because you only did it in the higher stuff, right? Yeah, like the tertiary elements, secondary. I think everything was placed very well in the stereo field. That was very intentional, and I liked it. No, yeah, I like it. Some good shit. I'm always like, you could push a little bit more loudness, but that's not exactly the genre. But
um,
yeah, I'm
is it
done.
my turn? Okay, yeah. So I feel like the snare, yeah, it could be like a little bit more sidechain, but it's also not like I wasn't like missing it being punchy. Like it wasn't like it was so noticeable that like, okay, so you said something about it, so I noticed it, but I think if you didn't have this here, I wouldn't have noticed it not being punchy enough. But I do think you could push it a little bit more with as far as like how forward it is in the mix and stuff like that. But anyway, the yeah, I think if you added a little skosh of sidechain just to the upper frequencies. So like I'm sorry, not upper frequencies, lower like lower mids and mid frequencies. So like, you know, you're not really sidechaining everything. You're just sidechaining like some of the mid elements where it might be wherever it's like fundamental is sitting is what I'm saying. So I don't know where the frequency of that is, but yeah, I think that would help it just feel a little bit more there. You're kind of like unmasking, right? Like back to the whole unmasking vibe. You're basically unmasking the snare from the rest of the track. The Vox sounded great. I do think that I didn't notice the lead in. So I think making that a little bit more forward could be cool, but I also don't think it was okay. Like not having it there wasn't bad, but I think if you want it to be like really awesome, having it there is the way to go. Yeah, I think that the processing was great though. So yeah, I didn't notice like any too glued or too processing or, you know, I think it was great. The sub bass movement, I think it was great. Yeah, I didn't notice it being bad. I liked that it was, you know, moved like, you know, as far as like the sturdiness of it. I kind of liked that it wasn't just, you know, sustained. It was nice and wavy. I mean, obviously it was sustained, but you know what I mean? You had some LFO energy to it. Arrangement wise, FX. Okay, so the one thing that I did not like personally was where is it? I think when you brought in these panned perk things when there wasn't drums, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. I just feel like it felt, I think maybe it is this part even with the kick. So like there's the kick and the pan stuff. It just feels a little bit weird when you hear it for the first time. But then when you bring back the whole mix of it, like with the snare helps like glue it into place. Maybe if you had like a percussion that's really subtle in place of the snare during the sections where there isn't like the full beat, I think that would help a lot with these like kind of stuttered like panned like you know, like those like those sounds that are going like left and right or left to right subtly, of course. I think that when the snare is there it sounds great, but when the snare is not there it felt a little bit weird, felt a little bit jarring. Maybe it's because they're so loud. Maybe they could just be turned down and it'd be fine. But I think that having the snare there is the better option, or having something in place of it that's more subtle. That is literally the only thing arrangement-wise that I felt was a little bit jarring to me. But everything else flowed really smoothly. I do think this comes in a little bit abruptly, this first hit here. I think you could get away with like some low-end information like leading up into this, because it hits or something reversed, something that like leads me into this a little bit more. Because I felt like it kind of hit me a little bit off guard. Not so much that it was bad, but I think that it could be like led into a little bit more. But other than that, dude, yeah, this is a vibe. I feel like this song is so peaceful and calming, and just it's great. I also really like your picture here. I think your picture is very, very good. It's like literally, yes, you know, look at this. This is Dino. This is Large Father right here. See that? He's there. He's there. But yeah, no, I think those are my thoughts. I think this is a really cool song. I like I know you make some like heavier stuff sometimes, but I genuinely think I like your ambient and calm stuff more. For some reason, I feel like it resonates with me really, really well. I really like how it's like so peaceful, and yet still has all of these electronic music elements that we know and love. So, yeah, I think that's really awesome. You guys have anything else you want to say? I assume not, but just I'd like to double check.
No, that was a banger.
Hell yeah.
Keep it up, brother.
Hell
Father.
yeah. All right.
Nah.
Next up, we got this G. Who's this guy? Wait, he's here with us. Damn, we get to see his facial
Oh,
expressions.
shit.
Oh, wait, you got to add some questions, bro.
The question is roast it.
Roast it? That's the
Done with
question.
this. I'm gonna rip it up and remix it anyway. So just arrangement, anything, whatever you're like, add the pacing of that. The intro feels kind of off. I don't know, all of it.
Okay, I will.
And yeah, only play 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I will tear this asunder, apart even.
Please. Shit sucks.
Yeah, I really didn't want to do that, but I feel like I have to. I can't be. All right. So that was amazing. Mix was like immaculate, like literally so full and yet so clean. Like it's loud, but also not like harsh. You know what I'm saying? You did all of the things that make it sound good, but also sound
That
loud.
obsessive shit. That
Now,
obsessive compulsive shit.
there's one thing that I was not a fan of, all right? And this is just my thought process. This is more arrangement than mix. The fake out before the second drop, I did not feel the vibe. I was not feeling that vibe. It felt a little strange, a little weird.
I think I've noticed that too, because it goes from like the call and you're expecting a response, but it goes back into a different version of the call. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's literally
feel you.
the only part of the entire song that I wasn't really digging too much. But at the same time, like, see, like it's one of those things where I'm nitpicking so much. Like,
Oh no, you're good, dude. Like,
Like,
I've
that's
nitpicked the shit out of this.
that is literally the only thing that okay, there's one other thing that I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't think it's like innately bad, but I think that it feels not as good on headphones as maybe it does on speakers. Cause like I'm on headphones right now, so like keep that in mind. But the kick that you chose to use, where was it? Hang on, let me see what times.
I use two different ones. That's why I'm like, I don't even know if to do this fucking track anymore. I just keep trying different things with it, and now I can't decide because I kind of like them all.
Yeah, I'm trying to find
then I
this
got-
kick. It's like a really low. I mean, see, like the thing is, I'm sure it slaps. It's that section, like those kicks, like I feel like they slap, but they're just hard to hear on headphones because a lot of the information is like felt in that, the pitching down sine wave element of that kick. So like maybe bringing some more of the mid and high elements forward in that kick, like frequency wise. Like I'm not.
Which
100
one specifically? Sorry, I'm using my monitor. So I
So like the first kick on that first downbeat at like 40, what is that? 40. Like 48 seconds, that kick. I feel like it's a little lost. Like a little bit. And not in the low end. Like low end it sounds great. Especially
Oh yeah, no.
And that's why I think on like a full system it's fine. Like on a sub, like if you have a sub there, I'm sure it's like not even an issue. But on the headphones,
No,
it's
you're
like,
right. That kick is not punching through. I did way too much like bloom and weird processing on the master, and it's smearing. Like I did a like linear phase splitting and weird shit, and so it's like I'm pretty sure it's what's it called, pre-ringing the kick, so the transient isn't hitting as hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, you're right
it's
about that.
there, and I know it's there, but it just feels like slightly not hitting the way that I want it to hit, which is like.
The transient is not poking. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. That's why I'm redoing this shit again.
But yeah, those are like my only two things I think that I can think of. I'm really trying to rack my brain. Those are the two things. So yeah, that's pretty freaking good, dude. I'm trying.
I appreciate it, bro.
I'm trying to like come up with shit, and I don't want to say shit that's not real. So yeah,
I do want to ask you guys, should I just polish up those two things, and then just release it, come back to it like in a year when my mixing skills are better, redo it then?
Yeah, dude, this is crazy.
I'm tired of holding on to this shit.
You might even be able to cut
that's
this
the
song
wrong thing.
sooner. I'm sorry, Blonde. I didn't mean to. I was gonna say.
Oh no,
Yeah, you go first.
Go
you go
ahead.
first. Okay. So like the big thing I just wanted to add is you could cut this sooner. I don't think you need the down tempo-y thing personally. That's just a thought. I mean, you could keep
at
it
the
there.
end,
Yeah.
I could make it a different song.
Yeah, I think you could just have some outro, like figure out an outro, like a nice smooth kind of like letting them down slow type energy, and
Right.
and yeah, and I think you could call it like right after this this section, because then you've got the two drops, you've got like,
And it already felt like a finale, dude. Yeah, you're right. And then it just keeps going, and it's like, okay, my brain, I've already released all the dopamine I can. and then it just keeps going. So yeah.
I do like it, but I think you have to go like really hard on it. Like even like you got to make it even better than it is as far as like what is there. Like you have to add more, or maybe add more isn't the right word. You have to be like even more dynamic and crazy with it, or maybe even timbrally different, which I feel like isn't necessary for the song to be good. Like I think that I've been thinking about this a lot, even in my own music, and I feel like when you add a lot of different timbres, it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of jarring when it comes to like the idea that you're trying to convey to someone, because it's like, okay, like how many different sounds am I going to hear in this song, kind of a thing. And I feel like if you,
Right.
as soon as you add that third section, it in my opinion, it like wants a timbral change too, which I don't know is if that's necessarily a good thing. You know, I think it's like
Yeah,
really
no,
nice.
I agree with you. Yeah. No, it's like I'm remixing it at the end of it, and it's like just save it for another time.
But yeah, sorry, Blonde. Yo, take it away. Let them know.
Blonde, I want to hear.
Oh, you're good. I mean, mixing wise, I think that this was pretty damn good. There's the only thing that I was like
So the
had
808s.
during the response bases, it's all pretty on grid, and I think that like the kind of loopiness of that lead synth, that thing can stay on grid, but like how it's like a da na 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 bump 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 bump. You could make that piece like bump 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 bump,
Oh
a
yeah.
little more like bouncy on that piece there, but that lead, the doot 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 doot, can stay on grid because that works there. I do think that
You
for
mean
some
like
of those,
percussively, like maybe some like
yeah, just
just
like I don't even know what the right word would be. It's like instead of bum 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 bum, you
swing?
keep a bum 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 bum. Yeah, just swing it, I guess. But don't swing that lead synth there. Just kind of where everything's coming in. I
So you're
think that
just
that
you're saying like maybe just add another kick, so it's like pum 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 pum
maybe,
pum pum
yeah,
or
maybe
something.
that's even it. Just having something else in there because that goofiness of that synth is really fun and like
But it's on
that.
like a serious rhythm cadence.
Yeah, so like that big like blah 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 whoop whoop boop 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 boop
Yeah.
boop. Like just having that kind of stick out a little bit more would be a little more fun, I think. But I fucked with this. The mix wise, there's a few clashing things, but it seems like it's just the tail end of a reverb before the next section. So like cleaning up those little bits, like before some of the response sections, there's just for the next like quarter of a second a little bit of like a tail of
Mhm.
something. But you know, that's
I
also
think I know
something
what
that
you're
you
talking
can
about, and
work
I
out.
can't tell if I intentionally did that to try to like glue, it's like it's called like connective tissue in
Yeah,
mixing to connect it to each
yeah.
section. Because I feel like I do so many edits and like I take everything down to silence so often. I feel like if I do it too much, it's just gonna sound like kind of glitchy. So I'm trying to like I think maybe glue things together with reverb tails. But do you have
And
any
it
like
might just
specific ones that
be,
didn't work?
let me see here. Let me just go through the first couple.
Because I'm always conflicted with that too. Like, does there need to be more space, or should I like fill that in?
So it's more so in the highs that it seems to be bleeding from what I just like clicked through. But I don't know. Like it sounded like it worked on some bits and then it sounded like it didn't on others. And I know that going in and modulating delay times on reverbs and stuff is not really what you want to do, but
Oh,
on
dude,
some
you should.
stuff,
My
yeah, like
automation lanes.
maybe just cutting the verb out at like the tail there. But
Colin's like, I
I
do
don't
that
think you
every
need to
time,
do
bro.
it
What are you
all. Yeah.
That's
saying?
why I can't work on this track, dude. All I have, it's just automation lanes. I
You
don't
just
see
gotta
anything
give
else.
just let it go to the world. I think you're close though. I mean, I don't think that releasing a song and coming back to it in a year is like a, I don't think that that's a problem necessarily.
Remastering it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, artists release like the 2024 version of a song that came out like 8 years ago anyway. So they
Right.
just go for it.
Learn a few more skills. You're like, all right, I know what to do.
Yeah,
Hell
and
yeah,
like,
brothers.
it's just gathering cobwebs on your hard drive. And if you don't know what to do with it and you think that it's ready, sometimes it's time.
Yeah. Take that shit. Be free.
Exactly. No, that was really cool. That was I haven't heard that in a minute. So yeah, that was nice.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice.
Thanks, brothers.
Yeah, we went to the DMT land, and now we go to the beer can. Is that? I hope you have that sample.
It's
right
this
here.
song. Yeah. It's
Yes.
This, I think you
Okay.
and I-
No, I haven't heard this. I don't think. Maybe I have actually. All right, let me listen to it. But questions. Wait, hang on. I assume you put them in. Okay.
They're
yeah.
on Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word. You went in, bro. That's a vibe.
God damn, dude.
Thanks,
I have a
dudes.
lot to say. Holy shit.
Yeah, I
Can I
mean,
go?
go for it. Yeah, go for it. Flex.
I don't even know what your questions are.
Oh,
But I
they're
will
in.
say, holy shit, that shit would go the fuck off live. Like the sub bass was perfect, and then the low mids were fucking balanced so well, and they were also stereo and like good stereo. Uh, that was good. The only thing I was craving a bit more of, and I don't know if it's a genre specific thing, is just the high mids and the highs and the hats and all of that was just like I was like, where is it? But that might be the genre thing, and you might have been intentional.
I could probably beef that up. I do think that I think that the drums aren't loud enough during the bass. I don't know what my processing was on all this, but during like the drops, I do think that the highs of the drums could be a little crispier.
Yeah, that was my only gripe, dude. I want to hear that shit at Black Box. That shit would be I'll go off. Questions, is it
Maybe one
stupid?
day.
It's fucking dumb. It's good dumb. It goes stupid. I wrote it for doubling up with other tracks live. Some empty space. Huh. No, that's good. I like it as is, and that's a good idea, doubling up with other tracks live. That's a good fucking, that's crafty. I heard no problem with it. That could be played on its own or with other tracks. You could have somebody rap over it. I don't know. That was cool. It definitely does what it do when it do. Good shit, brother.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Okay. Is it stupid? Does it go stupid? Yeah, it goes stupid. The doubling idea is big brain. Because, like, that's a very intentional decision. So that's, like, really helpful, especially if you're planning it on mixing with other songs. Have you tested, like, mixing it with other tracks at all? I'm just curious.
This one is like the sister. I think you were there when I wrote the sister song to this with the bacon sample. And I was like, this sample's pretty good. So I kind of flipped that into this one. And I have tested this with a few things. It works well with like some more minimal stuff over top of it, but like, a lot of deep dub sound design is so fucking crazy out the ass these days that it works well with like UK style dubstep stuff.
No, that's awesome. Because, like, yeah, all I would say is, like, test it and see if it works. But obviously, you're ahead of the game in that department. So, do it do what it do when it do what it do. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that yeah, Colin hit the nail on the head. I mean, once again, I'm not sure if this is creative decision, but like you said, I think you agree a little bit. There's some high frequency information missing. I think that some of that could come from the reverb. I think you could make the reverb presence in the high mids a little bit more there. Cause I've worked on some deep dub tracks recently, believe it or not. And, cause like I normally do not make a lot of deep dub, but I've experimented with it. And I think that if you can get the atmospheric space to kind of really be the most present part in that area and make sure that it's like really, really forward, then I personally don't miss whatever it is that's normally there not being there. But yeah, I do think that the hi-hats and all that, I don't think you need to put that into the reverb or anything, but those being up as well can help with that. But yeah, no, I really like this. I think that like I get the vibe as far as timbrely, so I'm not missing like a timbre change or anything. Like I think it sounds good the way that it is. The one thing arrangement wise though that I do think would be cool, not necessary but cool and maybe help kind of bridge this gap here, is some of the vocals in this section, this breakdown section, because it's not like completely empty, of course, but it does feel like it's missing something. And I mean, if you already have vocals in a track, my thought is put some vocals in there, because I mean, you could have an empty space and as soon as there's vocals there, it feels like a full space. So yeah, that's my thought for that section. But yeah, no, I thought the drums were good. You could make the kick a little teeny bit more present, maybe sidechain a little bit more, or maybe that comes back to the whole mid-high frequency information. Maybe have like a little bit more high frequency / mid frequency. It's the transient. You really want to make sure the transient is slapping. So like, I don't know, you could either add your own transients or find a kick with like a really strong transient, or sidechain, which is what I normally do. I normally just sidechain so that like if I'm doing like a thumpier kick, you can just have like the transient and then partially like part of the thump be sidechained and not really fully sidechain it, so because you can avoid the pumping effect but still get your kick to slap is basically what I'm saying there. But yeah, This is cool. I really liked it. I think that live this would be silly. This would be getting people very hyped. So that's good.
Thanks, man. After next week I'll submit the sister song to this one, because that one does have more of the vocals in it, which I think is why this one doesn't, because the other one has like beer, what is the word, beer can, a beer can, like all that shit. So I think this one just doesn't have it because it was all used up. But I will add a little bit of vocal flourishes.
Heck yeah. Well, that was really fun. Yeah, those are some good notes to end on. Jeez, you two are crazy. I gotta step up my game over here. Every time I hear the Phlox tracks, I'm like, oh, dang, I gotta keep making music.
I gotta have like 9 fucking projects so I can keep up with everybody.
Oh yeah.
Gotta have a rhythm.
Dude, I feel like I'm eternally behind on everything.
That's the
all
vibe,
the
bro.
time.
That's literally the vibe. But hey, you know what? That's okay. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that keeps us flexing, keeps us pushing forward into the
Natural
unknown.
states of anxiety.
Yeah.
Never reach your potential.
Yeah, we're all
Yeah.
just paranoid, but that's okay.
Keeps everybody humble.
Yeah. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, you're what the no, I thought there was somebody behind me. No, I'm playing. But yeah, no, that was awesome. Yeah, do you guys have any closing words? I know I have some. Come through to the flips Thursdays and
Yeah.
Sundays, 9 p.m. EST.
Sunday night flock flip. Come through, bitches. I think there's 6 people watching, but
It doesn't
10
matter.
people.
Come
Probably
through.
the 6
Come
that
through, flip, bitches.
Yeah,
are
yeah.
flock flips.
I feel like it's a great way to level up your skills if you're not used to making music often, and it's a good rep to get in every week. So, no, I think I guess multiple reps you can get in every week. But yeah, wait, what? This is great. Yeah, no, but love you guys. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Blonde.
GGs.
Thank you,
Peace out,
Colin.
everybody.
Yodel and Blonde here with us for this wonderful flip. Thank you guys. I'm
Keep
sorry,
an
not
eye
flip.
out for
Thief.
Flock Fest 2025, which more than likely will not happen.
Yeah, it might happen. We'll see though. You know, we can't say
We could do
no
it
for
locally.
certain, but we also
I
can't
mean,
say
if you guys
yes.
want to come to the East Coast, I can get a flock gathering going next week, but everybody's so scattered all over the place. It's like we gotta actually come up with a plan to get everyone together.
Where are you at?
I'm in DC.
Oh, okay, so you
Yeah.
and Brad are already like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
and then-
could do something online too, though. I've thought about this.
That's true.
It's one of
Not a
those
bad
things
idea.
where I do know that I know what you mean. Like Raph is like not even in this country, so yeah.
Perhaps in fucking Thailand or
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah. So no, I get you, but I think it would be really cool to have an event that's more about just like some music, talking, chilling, because we don't really have that. I mean, FIFA is kind of like that, but it's less organized and it's more about giving you guys feedback. Which the music is great too, but I think that the key point is the communal feedback energy. Whereas, making the music.
Yeah.
Music
We're all
only.
great at making music. It's just like we got to get everyone in a room so we can all work on our socializing skills. So maybe someone in this gang can actually be successful at some point.
True, but yeah. Yeah, but thank you guys.
We don't do workshops on personality here, so we got to do that in person.
Yeah, make sure you look at each other in the eyes. All right. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll all take mushrooms together in silent darkness.
Yeah. You can't like you don't have to look at what you can't see, right? So it's fine. But yeah, thanks again. We'll see you guys next Friday. Keep making music.
GGs.
Later,
next time.
everyone.
Peace.